Let's talk about the cost of frustration and do some day trader transparency here, which is always important and always helpful because in these transparent situations, I think that there can be a lot of learning going on, although it can be embarrassing, although it can be almost like the walk of shame, whatever. It is what it is. I've never said that day trading is easy. I never said that I always make money. I've never said that I make a lot of money. All I've ever said is, hey, you know what? Day trading can be a great side hustle, but as any wealthy person does, and I would encourage you to always go and research a wealthy person, any wealthy person of your choosing, and study them like I've done. And spoiler alert, every single one of them will have one, more than one stream of income, and that'll come up more later on. But point here being is, you know what? I'm a human just like everybody else, and I just want to walk you through my April results because there's a lot of good learning lessons in here. And there's a lot of, kind of different thought processes. And I will say that some of you will probably disagree with how I approach this. And I really do respect your opinion on that. I have mine, and I think there's good logic. I think there's good, variables in place. And I do realize all situations are different. But if you do disagree with kind of the premise of where all this started, I do actually respect that. I completely see where you're coming from. And I'm not going to call you wrong at all because I really do. I see, if I put yourself in your shoes and I see the point that you might try to make, you're not wrong. I think that, like I said, where I'm coming from with the pieces I have in place, it made sense to do what I did. But like I said, at the end of the day, it all started from frustration. And that's just what I want to get across there. And I will say that, before I forget, that April has been a very, very just tricky, garbage. It's been rough out there. That's really the best way I can put it. So if you were somebody that just felt like April was a grind, maybe you can't use words to describe it. Maybe your account is reflecting either a loss or just feeling choppy. Hopefully you're saying, no, April is a great month for me. Good. I'm very glad to hear that. But I will say that there are lots of well-respected traders, both in my community and then out of the community. If you just kind of look around, and they're all saying the same thing, which always makes me feel good, right? Because it is always wise to make sure that you're not the only one feeling a certain way. Because if you are, well, then you know what? Maybe you're the problem, not the actual atmosphere. But when you look around and you look at, like I said, from my perspective, not only people, what they're saying in my community that I offer, but just, whatever you want to call it, the YouTube sphere, just social media sphere, whatever as a whole. Not that everybody is losing money in April, but there was a common thread of, things are they're a little off right now. They're not like they used to be. And so from that perspective, it made me feel good. And it should make you feel good that it's not just you. Again, if you're like, oh man, April's been a terrible month. It's been choppy. It's been off. And then you're looking at everybody else and they're like, no, April's been great. I haven't noticed anything different. Then like I said, at that point, you might have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, maybe it's not the market. Maybe it's just me. And at the end of the day, I'm not blaming the market. I'm just saying that sometimes the markets are a little bit different and it's going to affect things in a little different situations. So from that point of view, if you had a rough April, then don't be too down on yourself. That was kind of a little long-winded. Where we at? All right, we're only a few minutes in. But anyways, like I said, that is still all very important because I don't want your April frustrations to now flow into May and think that, there's something wrong. Don't let May frustrations flow into the next month here. You kind of got to just put it aside because you are at risk of, just having things get worse, which is kind of what happened here. So to set up the context, here are my April results before the last day of the month. So if you look at all this and add it up, I was up, give or take, for math's sake, $2,500. So $2,500 already had me feeling a little frustrated. Now, what got me extra frustrated, and this is not a frustration where I'm playing the victim card or anything here, but was on that day right there where I lost $1,200. And the majority of that came from an after-hours trade that I made on AMD. And AMD, and like I said, not playing the victim card, I knew what I was getting myself into. Earnings plays, meaning trading it after hours, can be very sketchy. So it's not like I didn't know. It's not like the market makers did anything. No. I knew what was going on. They were going to release earnings and I was going to try to play a nice setup. And I played this setup and it was beautiful. It was totally going in my favor. And maybe if you watched AMD After Hours, you'll know the moment I'm talking about. The price started to come down. I went in the green, and I'm thinking, boom, good. I was up like, I don't know, let's call it $750, $800, somewhere right around there. And I'm thinking, this is fantastic. What I was willing to risk compared to what I was getting was actually a little bit more. And I hit the button to exit, and just like that, boom, AMD literally just whoop the other direction. Again, I'm not blaming AMD. I'm not blaming anything like that. I knew what I was getting myself into, and that's part of earnings. Things can change so fast. Now, things can go in your favor very, very quickly too, which is what I thought was happening and what was happening. But you know what? Sometimes it just goes that way, and it went that way. And that, that $700, $800 win, whatever it was, that I thought I had, that I was literally, I could feel in my mind like, okay, finger press the button. Oh, this is great. This is great. This is really going to help out April. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at, and yeah, I think that was like because it was a day that was very choppy anyways, but it turned out to be for over $1,000 loss when I thought I was going to get out for a good solid gain. So that started the frustration. But the one thing I did do right there is I knew, generally speaking, how much I was up, because I don't like to track every single day and know how I'm up for the month, just because that plays too many mind games with me. But I did know that from a general perspective, I was green. I could risk right around what I thought I was, and it would be okay. And then, boom, all that happened, which I was okay with, but it did create that frustration, right? Especially when you're looking at a great gain. And then in this situation, literally, I wish I would have captured it on video, but in a blink of an eye, went from being what I thought was up to being down just like that. So that happened. And then the next couple of days, to pat myself on the back here a little bit, because I'm about to start not patting myself on the back, but whatever, just, went back to it, went back to grinding, $500, $270, whatever. And then it reached to the point where I was like, where do I stand on the month? Because the last day of the month, and I've done videos on this, it's always important to know at least where you are within the last couple of days, because you don't want to go do something and then totally wreck your month. You don't want to go and give back all your gains. So it is always smart to know where you stand, so that going into, and maybe for some of you want to do this the last week of the month, maybe some of the last couple of days. For me in this situation, it was like, all right, where do I stand? Where am I going to the last day of the month? Because I know April's already been a chop fest. And at that point, I was up $2,500. So I'm thinking, all right, well, and this is where the frustration starts coming in. I can understand if you disagree with me. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? This month, it's been such a, I don't want to say wait, but in my mind, it was just like, this is just like, what's going on? Like it's been just like pulling teeth. I'm up $2,500. Has this even really been worth it? You know what? I'm going to take on some more risk. And I don't want to say go big or go home, because it wasn't a go home, but it was like, you know what? I'm going to take on some more risk. And you know what? As long as I can close up $1,000, then great. Because who cares? I mean, it's already been a crappy month ever. Anyways, it's already been a teeth pulling month anyways. So if I can walk away with April up $1,000, great. Because I know a lot of other traders out there are actually going to have a red month, which is true. A lot of traders, and again, a lot of good traders, and they're the type of traders that say, yeah, a red month rarely happens. I mean, it'll happen every now and then, but doesn't really happen too often. Well, April is like the month that those traders are red, because it was very challenging. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, whatever. If I can still close up 1,000, then at least I'm still green. Not much, but so what does that give me? Well, and not to insult your intelligence, but this is something I want you to learn is whatever you determine that number to be. And you may be saying, well, Clay, that's terrible logic. Why you're just gonna take on more risk because and like I said, maybe, but at least this was controlled risk. At least this was controlled frustration, if you will. And I'm thinking, all right, well, if I'm up 2,500 and I want to be able to at least still be up 1,000, what does that give me? So if I want to be able to at least still be up 1,000, well, then that gives me what? That gives me $1,500 worth of risk, right? You do the math, it works out there. So I knew going in that, I'm willing to take $1,500 worth of risk. And I realized, why are you taking on so much risk? Well, because I knew that even with that amount, I'd still close up $1,000. And in my mind, I'm still considering that a victory given how crappy of a month April has been. So that was my mindset going into the last day. I got $1,500 of wiggle room. Let's just take on some additional risk. Let's see if I can really, get this 2,500 number, maybe even up to over 5,000. And worst case, or like I said, best case, I'm up over 5,000. Worst case, I'm still up 1,000 on a very, very challenging month. So let's go on to the next day and how that played out. And here is the final, let's see the screen. I'm just checking, making sure that everything is showing like I want it to show. You're seeing, but here is the last day of April, lost $2,200. But let's walk through this. Now, again, I would argue that up until this point, I've done everything right. I realize you can make the argument, well, no, Clay, that's not true because you let frustration cause you to take on more risk. And that is true, but I would also, and I understand where you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but just to counter that, I would say, but what happens if I was showing these results and now I'm up over $5,000, which was a very real possibility with what I was structuring, what I was trying to get underway, that could have played out. Like I said, maybe you would still say, no, Clay, you're still wrong. You shouldn't have let frustration affect you that way. And again, but I would say that hopefully we can meet in the ground that you can say, but Clay, I still think you're wrong, but at least it was controlled frustration. At least it wasn't just, well, let's go. No, you knew you had an amount you set and you let all that. So like I said, hopefully we're on the same page there. We can at least find that middle ground. However, if you notice, that very first trade I took was Twitter, earnings, thinking, okay, this is great. I thought it was a very obvious setup. I thought it was a very, you can never say guaranteed setup, but I was like, all right, this is what I'm looking for. Twitter had earnings. There's a lot of volume. There's a big gap down. I'm liking what I'm seeing. And then ultimately lost, let's just call it $1,800 on that trade. Now, this is issue number one. This is mistake number one on my part, is I let it get too far out of control. By how much? Well, basically by about $300, right? Because my amount going in, my wiggle room was $1,500. But I took a loss of $1,800. So that's on me, not blame. I let things get too far out of my control. So lesson number one I want you to walk away is, if you have some sort of idea or number, you know what? Honor it. Because this is what I'm not going to say will happen to you, but as a human being, as a fellow human being, as a fellow, halfway rational person that, feels emotions and stuff like that. For me, it's, okay, good job, you moron. Good job, you moron. You said you wanted to close up the month 1,000, and now you're down at give or take right around $700. Good job. Idiot. Clay, you gave yourself $1,500 and you couldn't even work within that? What are you doing? All right, well, you got to have $1,000, Clay. But the good news is, Clay, you only got to make like $300. Okay, you can do $300. So, and do you notice what just happened there? I am now starting to justify what? Justify continuing to trade even though I've already violated the one rule. The big rule. I mean, I should have been done. Because at this point, I'm not mentally stable anymore. I'm frustrated with myself. I'm irritated. So at this point, I'm not making an argument that I did anything right at all. Okay? Not saying I did anything right at all. Well, I guess I take that back. I take that back. The one thing I did right was I lowered position size. Because I'm like, okay, Clay, you definitely don't want to go red on the month. That would be not good for your mental, your mental statehood at all going into May. So the one thing I did do right is I lowered position size. And good thing I did. Good thing I did, because you look over here at Tesla, there's a bunch of trades. Now, lowered position size, and therefore, you scale out and stuff like that. But I took a lot of trades on Tesla trying to get that $300 back, and you'll notice closed down $438 on it. Now, at one point, it was a tad bit more than that. So, it's not like it was all losing trades, but it was just up and down back. It was terrible trading. Why? Well, because I was never in a good mental state anyways. So, but at least by lowering position size, that didn't have the decimal place moved over. But what did I do? Well, now I made the day even worse. I made the month even worse. And it all started with me not honoring, not stopping where I should have stopped. It all started with me, I suppose, being frustrated. But like I said, I keep going back to but if I was sitting here up $5,000, I don't think people are like, well, you shouldn't have let frustration. You would have said, well, good job, Clay, with that controlled frustration, because you were able to catapult that into more win. But like I said, at this point, like I said, and this is one thing is, I I want to say, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling lower position size, well, no, if you're feeling that way, stop trading. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not justifying any of this by saying, well, at least I lowered position size, so you should, no. I shouldn't have traded at all. But if I did anything right, and if I did anything to help save my month, it was by lowering position size, because you saw, as you see here, 62 total trades, absolute chop fest, and still was down that much. And it could have been a whole lot worse had I just either kept normal position size or worse yet, scaled up position size. Wow, that could have been that could have been really, really bad. But do you see how things just can spin out of control? And in all actuality, I should have just been done after the Twitter trade. But it's hard, right? You set goals for yourself, you set limitations, and then you mess up, and then you're upset at yourself, and you feel like the medicine, the remedy is, well, let me at least get back up to that number. And that's such a nice little convenience that the evil voices play is, okay, well, Clay, yeah, but you can make that up, and after you make that up, you'll feel better about yourself. Yeah, but you're not in the mental capabilities to stay laser focused and to honor the market and respect the market like you should. And then ultimately, let me bring up the total monthly results, which equate to, I was supposed to be up $1,000, $391. Now, I am still actually relatively happy about that, because as I said already, there's a lot of traders out there that actually had red months in April. So I'll take the green month, but should have been 1,000. But because, like I said, the costs of frustration, that frustration spun out of control on me, and I ended up not being at my goal of $1,000. And that's, it is what it is. But I'm not going to hide the fact that I kind of lost it at the end of the month there. But like I said, and another thing I wanted to circle back to this is why was I willing to just say, you know what, I'm going to take on bigger risk? It goes back to the whole thing about go out and study wealthy people. And this is one of the reasons why I believe, and I don't have any scientific facts on this, but I think just me thinking through it from a logistic standpoint, from a logical standpoint, is I think wealthy people just build so much wealth, have so much control, is because when you have multiple streams of income, which is what they do, which is what I teach around here, which is like if you come into my chat room community and you're like, I only have one stream of income, I want to be a full-time trader and that's it. You're gonna get bombarded with encouragement saying, no, what? No, you don't want to do that. You want to have multiple streams of income, because when you have multiple streams of income, and like I said, this is just my theory. You might disagree, and you very well could be right. But to me, it makes sense that wealthy people get wealthier, stay wealthy, because when you have multiple streams coming in from other places, you can take more risks. Right? Amazon, for example, has all sorts of streams of income. So they could take the risk on their phone, right? Who remembers when they tried to do that phone a few years ago? Failed miserably. But you know what? It's not like it blew up their company. It's not like it blew up them or anything like that. Just like that loss or that risk that I was willing to take going into the month, whether or not agree with the psychology behind it. And this is one of these variables that I'm saying is because within my personal finance situation, and as I've talked about before, I'll put the link down below about my 9 streams of income. I have other streams of income, so it's not like this was totally, oh man, time to take the risk with the rent money. Time to take the rent, and if I'm not right, well, kids, it's bread and water tonight. Nope, it was not like that at all. My personal situation allowed me to take that bigger risk that, again, could have had me up over $5,000. So I think that's why wealthy people, or one of the reasons why they build so many streams of income, is because when you have multiple streams of income, you can take risks. Now, they need to be calculated risks, and that's what this was, right? It was a calculated risk, and I would still be up $1,000. And then, of course, I failed with that a little bit, but I did do some things right. But the point here being is it's not like it was just some risk in the sense of let's go to Las Vegas. No. I thought through it. I lost control of it a little bit. Then I lost control of it completely as I kept on trading. But the point here being is I'll still be okay, right? My family, well, I don't know, maybe you consider Domino's pizza last night, bread and water, but we had Domino's movie night. My world, my life is still okay. So if there's anything else, where are we at time-wise? Almost 20 minutes. Well, if you're still here right now, I guess you're probably enjoying the talk, but I'm not trying to rant. I'm just speaking my mind. This is more of a almost like I'm using you as my psychologist here, but this is why I would encourage you, as always, And why for me, trading is just a side hustle, right? I'm always saying it's a side hustle because that's what it is. I have other streams of income, and I'd encourage you to build other streams of income. That's why you're not sitting here, tight, white knuckled saying, oh, I got to make money. I can't pay the gas bill this month because all my income is dependent on trading alone. No, don't do that. Have multiple streams of income. Not only does it build peace of mind, not only does it, allow you to hedge risks in different ways, but it allows you to take risks in certain ways, like this situation here. So that is how my April closed out, up $391, and a lot of learning lessons here. Did a lot of things wrong at the end of the month, but I'm not going to beat myself up totally bad because I was still at least wise about the frustration. I acknowledged the frustration. I tried to control the frustration, lost a little bit of control, and then Tesla, yeah, that was not good. But I'm all I can do is laugh and say, I'm glad I lowered position size because I was like a little chicken with its head cut off trading Tesla, just trying to get that $300 back, and it was not happening. But to just wrap it up, again, if you had a rough April, if you were red, if you were barely green, if you felt like it was pulling teeth, maybe you didn't hit your monthly goals, hey, you know what? From what I can see, you're not alone. Not only just because of my solo data point, but because what I've seen out there in not only the chat room, but the atmosphere of not Twitter, but just social media, YouTube. There's traders that I would consider good, solid traders that maybe didn't necessarily have red months, but described it as being April has been a goofy, bizarre month. So just keep on fighting and don't let frustration spill over. Like I said, for me, I'm just happy it was a green month. Now, yes, and the voice in the back, yeah, but Clay, it should have been $1,000. You got to get back on pace here to start off May. You got a little bit. No. I'm not going to listen to that voice. May is a new month. I'm glad I was green for April. That's my mentality. Call it a justification. It is a justification, right? I'm literally tricking my mind into saying, hey, you know what? That's okay. Because at this point, there's no need to try to play the games of, okay, well, Clay, technically you closed up basically $400. So that means that just to get back to that 1,000, you got to kind of create a little bit more in early May so you can make up that $600 and put, no. I'm not going to listen to that voice. That's just got all sorts of bad habits and stinginess written all over it. I don't want anything to do with it. I am starting off the month saying, you know what? I was green. And you know what? Even if you were red in April, I want you to start off May saying, but I'm not alone, right? It's not like I'm the problem. Now, you could be the problem if you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off because you don't have any sort of true strategy. So that may be a possibility. But if you're somebody that's like, I don't know what happened. I've been green. And all of a sudden this, you know what? It's okay. May is a new month. Just got to start it over and, kind of wipe the slate clean. So, that's kind of how I would advise approaching May is you're not alone. It's been bizarre, but it is what it is. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you do enjoy these, where I don't even know what kind of video to call this. I share my result. I just rant. I don't know what kind of video this is, but if you enjoy these kind of videos, two things that you can do here to communicate that to me, hit that like button. And then in the comment section below, just leave a emoji really. I mean, a comment would be great, but even if you don't want to leave a typed up comment, you can leave just a thumbs up emoji or whatever. But those two things communicate to me that, hey, Clay, I enjoy these videos. Make some more of these in the future. And then also check out the channel as a whole. I'm not a big fan of people saying, hey, subscribe to my channel, even though you've only watched 2 minutes of it. I won't say that. I will say, hey, but if you enjoyed this video, a lot of these results here that you see are spread across the channel. And you'll see some of the good days, some of the bad days. And unfortunately, I didn't capture the last day when things spun out of control because in my mind, I wanted to be laser focused. And those live trade videos are not easy to make because there's just so much going on and they are truly live. So I didn't capture that on video. But like I said, a lot of these results, you can go to the live part or live trading part of the playlist on the channel and check those out. But point here being, if you like what you see from the channel perspective, at that point in time, I would love to have you as a subscriber to the channel. But get out there, learn from my mistakes, but at the same time, just realize April was a bizarre month. So if you were even $1 green, seriously, well done. You did better than a lot of other well-respected traders out there. So May is a new month, and just got to get to it. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.